Good day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Helen R. Giroux for Women of Truth. This is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to meet one of our thought leaders revolutionizing the future of women's health. Today, I'm joined by Sabrina Runbeck. She is someone who empowers the busy private practice owner to increase productivity and save the whole 8 hour of work so that they can actually double the win that they get in work and in their lives. And she's actually got a really interesting story that she's going to share with us today about how she came into this role as a consultant, a keynote speaker, podcaster. You should check out that podcast. She has a very interesting take on how to support healthcare professionals, and she herself is a healthcare leader. So Sabrina, thank you so much for joining us. And I know, with your history and your story, you're going to help a lot of people in this interview. So thanks again for joining us and for partnering with Women of Truth.
Thank you, Helen, for having me. And thanks to all the ladies for listening in. We know your time, your energy is so precious, and you choose us. So we appreciate you being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I want to know about this Sabrina Runbeck that really had a life-changing experience. And I know that you learned something major from that. So can you share that with our audience? What was the moment that was a true breakthrough moment for you, and what did you learn really in that moment?
Yeah, thank you for having me here and giving me that space. So let me just take you back a few years. I was young in the medicine world, feeling so energetic, supposedly all the time. And there was one morning, hardly 8 o'clock, I was already exhausted because I took calls the night before and slept maybe 3 to 4 hours. My body feels weak and my hands were even cramping. I had a fever of 101 degrees at the time. Now in surgery, we consider ourselves anything that's below 100.5 is not really a true fever. But when I check my temperature, it is. And I didn't have any procedure done, any infection that I know of being exposed. But it wouldn't have been so bad, except I was still standing in front of one of my patients' open chest with my hands inside of him, trying all that I can just to get through the procedure. Now, usually I'm someone who listens to music, chat with everybody, and just get it going. But that day, I was just quiet. And one of the nurses took pity on me and kept passing Dayquil and cough drop under my mask just to keep me going. Now, we all know it doesn't take a medical professional to tell any of us when our body is forcing us to shut down. So the next morning when I woke up, covered with night sweat, I hardly just get out of bed to go to the restroom, I had to convince myself, well, Sabrina, you can't do this anymore. I called in sick, but the answer I got on the other line was, Sabrina, you didn't tell me this sooner? Like people didn't know that I was hacking and coughing the day before. I believe my story is not unique. Many of you ladies sitting here have gone through something similar, where we just push ourselves continuously in the push state of getting things done, adding more things to our plate. We have to say yes to this project, to this client, to this activity, so we can show us we're caring, we're actually valuing ourselves, our true nature, as someone who's nurturing. However, we're giving up so much our precious time, energy, and ultimately our sanity. Now I had to face the truth that I'm the one who tossed the rocket in the pond, who caused all the ripple effect. Yes, the system might not have built to support us, but ultimately it's us who said yes to all the things that didn't align with who we truly are, but constantly pleasing, driven, playing back into all these sabotaging tendencies we have. So I had to go back to my own research in neuroscience and public health, where I study on stress management, self-care, self-efficacy, health literacy. And what I found at the time was, actually, you don't need to know anything basic. You just need to believe yourself that you can do something good for yourself. And because that one good action triggers multiple good things in your life, and that's what I always say, you have to give the best of you, not what's left of you. How can we achieve impact when we're always chasing the outside and not knowing who we are in the inside, what we need, how do we reflect from our energy, from our vibration to others? So now I totally flipped everything over and continue to be able to operate in heart-lung surgery, and also became an international keynote speaker, best-selling author, hosting my own podcast called Powerful and Passionate Healthcare Professionals Podcast, and be able to help these private practice owners who have been driven, wearing multiple hats, but start seeing that even though they chase new way of freedom to build their own practice, there's so much going on that they shouldn't need to constantly put out fire, seeing the gaps in their life and their business. They can have that true joy in their career and in their personal life.
What an important piece of wisdom to get at such a young age. And I think for people watching who haven't really realized this, you are in the medical profession. So that's a really high performing industry. There's a lot of peak performance there. People are really operating at high standards. So to be able to learn this at that kind of time in your life and in that industry is priceless, because we have such a chase in life to keep performing, to keep doing. And of course, I love how you've positioned this so much in our partnership in the lives of women, how important it is for us to begin to start to say no and to really tune into the body. So when you were a really young girl, Sabrina, what kind of young girl were you? And what you know now, looking back on that little young girl, what would you tell your 8-year-old little girl self about the world and about how she was back then? What would you tell her? What advice do you have for her?
I would tell her, don't be so hard on yourself. Now, in positive psychology, we talk about any one negative thought or one negative experience, take at least 3 positive ones to overcome. Now, the empowerment state of us, I believe the most important one is empathy. It's not so much as we always talk about giving other people empathy, but allowing empathy, accepting empathy, and give ourselves that empathy. There's such a big lie that we all tell ourselves we have to be someone. We have to be caring. We have to be obedient. We have to be respectful, right? But this is outward. And we put ourselves into such a high standard, and it's so tough on ourselves individually, and even start from when we were a child. I was the only child in my family, only girl. Of all my family are all boys. So then the pressure becomes, if you're a girl and you stand out, the boy is supposed to make something of themselves. And my rebellious self's like, oh, no. I can be whoever I want to be. I can get more degrees than all of you guys. So yeah, I end up with 4 of them. What does that really matter? No. But those degrees, those certifications, those chasing another title, another position, doesn't equal happiness or success. It's just more leverage we're trying to escape from the reality of things that we need to deal with. So I would say to the younger person, enjoy the moment of being in that youth, explore, innovate, be creative, and allow yourself to fail. Give yourself that grace when you do.
Give yourself that.
Exactly. So live yourself in the version that you truly want to embody. And then
Beautiful.
when I talk to other people, it's about what is that new aim you have in life, and continue to work on that and truly believe and really focusing on that aim, but enjoy the process and be flexible on what you do.
To really be able to enjoy our youth, so priceless. You just touched on what I think is the precursor to the answer to the next question about the biggest lie that women believe, Sabrina, and the actual truth. What do you think it is, given your history now in getting into a burnout early on in life, looking at the world around you, looking at a lot of the high performance females that you work with already, but that you've also seen along your journey, and that, you know, real traditional role that we had as women to sort of, you know, grow up in families where we shouldn't stand out too much, but, you know, we kind of really are trained, as you keep saying now, to be so considerate of the other. I mean, this has been like almost an epidemic, you know, that women have kind of been cultured into so much empathic caring. And I know Dr. Francesca Richardson calls it emotional labor, that we're doing so much emotional labor for others, but forget about ourselves. So what do you think is the biggest lie that women believe? And what is the truth? Is it that one, or are there others that you would add?
In positive psychology, we always talk about the master of saboteur is judgment, because how much we judge ourselves and how much we learned how to judge others. Even from a younger age, we're being told what to do, what not to do, what's acceptable. But those are just someone else's rules, culture, but never really for you. You can be multicultural. You can adapt everything to make who you are. So being told what should be, what ought to be, that's the biggest lie that we accept. And then when we accept these things of supposedly these arbitrary boundary, instead of setting a true boundary of ourselves, what's acceptable for who I am as a person? Can you even define the 3 values that you hold so dearly as how you want to show up for others, for yourself? And if you can, then you are really lying to yourself and other people on how you're supposed to be as a human being. And if we start losing the part of my personal mission, well, we don't even know what that sentence even look like, sound like, mean to us, then how are you progressing in life?
It's priceless what you're saying now, because obviously there's a lot that is hard to accept, about ourselves not being aligned. And it's so much easier to see it in the other person and to kind of blame and shame them for things that we can't live up to ourselves. So I love how you brought alignment into the whole thing. So important to realize that this is, really about ethics and integrity. And so much of the time we are seeing the work that women are doing is to begin to be more kind and empathic to themselves, and not to be judging themselves, not to be sabotaging so much of their own value and worth. So we're looking at all these women's movements around the world. I know you are in enough kind of circles online and in your own personal work to see what's happening in the entrepreneurship space as well, with women's networks and women's organizations. A lot of movement, a lot of change, a lot of empowerment work. Is there anything you would add or subtract to that?
I totally believe that things come in the right moment when you're not forcing yourself to do everything to chase certain goals. I was in a women's empowerment group where we published a book called Asian Women Who Boss Up, because we've seen there's not a lot of women professionals who represent every single facet of field. I was only the medical professional in the book, and then there are people who are the typical ones in law, accounting, but you also have chefs, nutritionists, coaches. So we can really define our own path. It doesn't have to be defined by our culture or be seen as someone as model minorities per se, and you guys shouldn't have prejudice. And when that book came out, it was just right at the time where all the Asian hate crime pops out. And my national organization from my PA community, from the medicine side, actually reached out to me to host the event to talk about how minority API healthcare practitioner been feeling, right? Because we had patients say certain things to us, and it's really in a sense attacking the whole culture and lumping us into it. So how do we feel in the way that we're caring for our patient and how they are really affected? So that's also a very interesting topic that I was involved in earlier this year.
So interesting that you bring up the minority voices and how we really are, right now in the world going into a lot more deeper discussion about these things. And I think it's something flashed in my mind. It would be so amazing to have a collective book project where there is one woman from every single country. I mean, this is, something that I'm sure someone's going to build very soon. And to really hear this kind of cross-cultural perspective is really important. So I like how you brought that in. What about this deeper look, if we can, on the way that the work that you're doing now is taking a very special focus? Just tell me for one moment, if you can, what are you most passionate about? What can people look forward to when they follow you? And I would, love to be able to put all that on the box so that we can follow in.
I'm most passionate about now, particularly in the healthcare professional, where many of us, due to the COVID, are shifting. We're shifting away from bigger organization. We start developing something that we want that's accessible to our patients, whether it's a in-person clinic or online telemedicine. But when we go from a technician to entrepreneur and a manager at the same time, you wear way too many hats. And people start getting so overwhelmed by all the things they have to do. And they might be really, really good getting things done, but they're not good at getting the right things done. So then they start feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm constantly going, but I'm still not getting where I need to go. Things are falling through the cracks. Things I have to constantly put out fire. There's so many things I have to learn about this new adventure that I have, but they're not actually doing what they do best, serving the people, serving their colleagues. So I come in to be able to look at all the chaos, to simplify it, give them back at least 4 hours per week, give them the freedom that they so want to chase back, and increase their productivity, because we all wanted to be most efficient with our time. As we expand our practice, even my clients who has 20, 60 employees, it's not about being busier, but really allocate your time, your energy, so you continuously to live in your desire zone, not in the distraction zone, disinterest zone, or the debt zone. Truly gain over the control of your life and your career to enjoy all the fruits of your labor.
It's the scoring of time that is so attractive in your work, because I know when you get to certain levels of higher mission and service for the world, and you're really passionate about what you do, there's only time left for the little bit that you can do for life-work balance. And then if you keep going, you realize you need way more time to really just decompress. So I think it's so valuable what you're doing. Give us your 3 words, Sabrina, a woman of truth tradition here. At the end of every interview, we give 3 words from you, your wisdom, and we send it out to all the women that could never watch a video like this, and then to all the women watching, a way of encapsulating your wisdom and your power. What would you say? Your 3 words, either connected or separate words that mean something to you.
My 3 words will be elevate, charismatic, and fun. I so believe that from elevate, it's not about just being nurtured, but how do you bring out the best in other people and not being a diminisher? That's what I believe and teach about influence. Now, the charismatic that's who I want to be. The person who has things going on, but really show my own personality, be able to engage with others. And fun, well, without fun, without you bringing the joy into your own life and others, how would your life be that important? So for anybody else who might want to learn more about me, or even just to see if I can add any value to you as a healthcare professional focusing on productivity, feel free to visit sabrinarunbeck.com, my full name, /blueprint. Let's see if we can create a blueprint for you. And on that website, you have my calendar, as well as a short 3-minute segment from Fox News that I did talking about how come and what can we do when the average age of burnout is 32 years old.
Yeah, exactly. Such an important word, elevate. I love it so much. Charisma, very, very powerful. Some of the most important leadership happens with charisma. And then fun. Let's not forget that laughter and joy is such a premium, nirvanic, blissful state. And if we can just remember how to play around and take things a little lighter, we can really bring in so many great endorphins. Thank you so much, Sabrina. Lovely having you. And thank you for making time. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for watching this Women of Truth video. And you can check out Sabrina's masterclass. Really important information there about the deeper science of wellness and happiness and how to make sure you're not going to be burning out and depleting your energy. You can check that out on the Women of Truth, a high intelligence platform. Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks, Sabrina. Ciao.